Community cats are self-sufficient, roam throughout the community, and do not have anyone who cares for them. Naturally, a lot of people want to help these stray cats, but sometimes intervening can do more damage than good.
Well, the problem with feeding stray community cats is they're used to surviving on their own. And if we give them that extra food and the extra resources, what you get is a population boost. They have larger litter sizes, and that can start causing population problems. Most of the cats are pretty used to living on their own. Certainly if something is injured or if it's causing an issue to public safety, like it's being aggressive, then certainly in those cases you can bring them in. But for the most part, we kind of want to leave them where they are.
If you bring a self-sufficient community cat to the shelter, they'll have to stay at the shelter until they get adopted. If a community cat has taken a liking to your property, there are a few things you can do to deter them from roaming on your yard.
The first thing is you really want to wash anything that might have their scent on it. You definitely want to make sure that your property is clear of any clutter, because that's where the rodents and the birds and all these little things that our kitties like to hunt all hide out in. So if we can clean that up, then we don't have the problems, and they'll stay away because there's nothing for them to hunt there. The other thing we can do is use a lot of natural deterrents. If they're digging in gardens, we can use substrates that are prickly. You can put pine cones in the gardens. A really good thing to do is put like a chicken wire down before you put your soil on top. That makes digging very difficult, and that certainly deters them from using your garden as a litter box. The other thing you can do is they don't like onion or coffee grinds. So fence posts, garden markers, you can kind of rub an onion against, and that will deter them. They don't like the scent. And then coffee grinds around any places that they're spraying or digging. That's a couple of ideas for good deterrents.
You can also help keep the booming cat population in our city down by being responsible and following a few simple rules and recommendations.
Make sure that your animal, your own personal pet, is spayed and neutered. Obviously, accidents happen, animals can get out, and what that does is it prevents any unwanted litter and prevents adding to that overpopulation. So that's the big one, first of all. Really want to consider, and I know it can be a tough choice, but really we do recommend you keeping your personal cats indoors. It's so much safer. Studies have proven they live much longer, much healthier lives when they're indoors, and you're never wondering the dangers that can happen to your cat if you keep them inside. You always know they're safe and sound and where they are. And lastly, if you see a cat wandering your property, if you think it belongs to someone, you really do want to leave it alone and give it a chance to find its way back home. 65% or higher of owned animals will find their way home. And there's a much lower success rate at getting them home if you do bring them into the shelter. Of course, the exception to that is if you do see a cat that you think is injured or in distress, or if it's being aggressive to the public, we certainly do want you to bring those cats in, because our job is to keep the community safe as well.
It is important to keep indoor cats indoors and for cat owners to take the necessary measures to ensure that their cats can get back home to them safely.
The City of Hamilton does have a lifelong cat license for $13, which is always a good thing. I mean, it's always nice. It works the same way that dog licenses do. If the cat ends up here, we can trace it and the cat can go right back home. The other thing we recommend too is microchipping. Microchipping is wonderful. We have a really big success rate with returning animals that are microchipped. It's a permanent form of ID, and it's great because the cat can't get it off. And the third thing that we do recommend is having a collar, and with that collar you want to make sure that you have a tag with at least your phone number on it. That's a great way to let people know that that cat is owned and it's not a community cat, that it does have an owner, and then they can leave that cat alone and it can find its way home.
For Inside City of Hamilton, I'm Kinga Moshinsky.